Hey, welcome to my YouTube channel, Making Sense of Credit, Making Sense of Making Money Online. I'm Tony O. I'm a personal and small business credit coach, online marketer, YouTuber. Hey, welcome. Hey, thanks for being here with me today. And today I'm going to be talking about MyFICO.com. Kind of my take on it and really, why you shouldn't apply for anything unless you are familiar with MyFICO.com, because this is where the lenders get their scores from. And what better way to know where you're at than going to the source of all sources. So I'm going to be going over at MyFICO.com for you, my FICO scores today. So look, hey, before I jump into this, smash the like button, hit the notification bell for upcoming content. Feel free to make a comment if you like. Share this with your friends and family, and most of all, subscribe. So look, if you didn't know, actually, there are on MyFICO.com, they actually have 28 versions of credit scores. And you can either get that when you buy the 3 bureau report, either the Advanced or the Premier. And if you take a look, this is just a few that you'll see. Version 8. Of course, if you didn't know it, you could definitely check out some other videos. I talk about FICO 8 quite a bit, especially compared to Vantage 3.0, which generally you'll find are more of an educational score. If on those videos, but look, MyFICO, when I say the lenders get their scores from here, you can sometime in most instances, you can see what score that they use if you understand and know how to navigate this. And look, that might take a little practice to get used to, but you can certainly see it. You can certainly do it. I do all the time, know basically what scores that they use maybe after they pull them. But also too, you should be proactive in being able to see your scores and know where you're at before you apply. That's the whole point, right? So once again, these are pretty much all the versions. Total, once again, like I said, 28 different bureaus of each and that sort of thing. Let me just go over, and actually, this is going to be a different take on this from some of the other videos. And as you guys know, I always try to set myself apart from what everyone else is doing and bring you something of more value. Let's talk about the different versions for each credit bureau, okay? So let's start with TransUnion. Look, as you guys, maybe you don't know, but FICO 8 is the most widely used version of credit scores, which means, and you'll see those on Experian, because you guys know I'm a huge fan of Experian. And if you haven't seen that video, check the video out in the description on how you can actually get or I'll put it on the end screen or one of the cards that you'll see pop up on this video. But if you're not aware, all of those scores are FICO 8, and people are like, well, they're not the same as the FICO score that you see everywhere else. No, they aren't, but they are the same FICO scores that you will see. I don't care whether you see it on your Discover or your Figurehead card or whatever. FICO 8 is FICO 8. That won't change much, except for if it's a FICO 8 different version, like an auto lending or a bank's card. But typically FICO 8 without any other, whether it has bank, lending, credit card, or anything else behind it, those FICO 8 scores will be the same, as long as they don't have, auto or mortgage or any other thing behind it. Okay. So you can pretty much universally see that score. So if you go to Experian, you'll see your TransUnion FICO 8, you'll see your Experian and your Equifax FICO 8s. It'll be the same FICO 8 that you'll see here, which is at the top here, where it says doesn't have auto behind it, just has FICO 8 most widely used score. That score that you see at the top here will be pretty much in unison with those other scores I talked about on Experian. But let's talk about MyFICO. The one thing about MyFICO score, and what I tell my clients to do, and I haven't kind of graduated from this because it could get a little expensive. I'm not going to get into what it costs. Although I would say, they have plans from, I think, $19.95, $29.95. I think the advance is $29.95, and the premium is $39.95. So you can spend $40 a month. But I really don't have my clients do that. I have them do the Experian for free. Although now, if you saw my other video, it's another video I did where Experian is not showing the collections. So I'm moving away from Experian as far as the report goes. And of course, you can get your full report from annualcreditreport.com, not repair. Sorry about that. I misspoke. Or from Credit Karma, that you can get your Equifax and your Transunion, which those collections on those are missing from Experian. So, I don't deal with Credit Karma's scores. We're not talking about scores, folks. We're just talking about the reports. If you need to get reports, I still do like Experian site, because you could, I did do a credit hack, and you can check that video how you can get all 3 FICO 8 scores for free, month in and month out. So check out that credit hack. So let's just talk about MyFICO. Back to MyFICO. I wanted to drop that so you understood that. So the thing about MyFICO, which is incredible, is that you actually get to see the other versions of what you're going to be doing. So when you go apply for a mortgage is going to have a different FICO score. Auto is going to have a different FICO score. Credit card is going to have a different FICO score. Okay. So, and look, you don't have to be an expert at this stuff, but just if you do sign up with MyFICO, make sure you look at the FICO score versions and try to understand them. They're not that hard. This is not brain surgery. You can do this, folks. So look, let me just start here. Most widely used, FICO 8, okay? Then commonly used with mortgage score, TransUnion, FICO Score 4, older version. And then I highlighted this, most widely used for mortgages. You'll pretty much see this score, across the board with any lender, okay? This is mostly what they use for TransUnion, okay? Because we'll get to the other ones in a minute. Auto score, FICO 8 version, auto lending. And it varies, The thing about it is that when you look at the two scores, look at the difference between the scores, right? Look at the difference between your mortgage score, because you might say, oh, I need a 640 mortgage score, but you may have it here with your mortgage score because your FICO 8 score is lower, right? But you see, this is a 29. That's a big difference, right? That's a 29-point difference. So you'll see the difference between scores. And same with the auto score. So let's say you're not sure what auto version that they use. They could use a 4, they could use an 8. You don't know. But look, if these scores are lower, I would just say stay away from financing. Another thing too that's cool about MyFICO and why I use it for my clients, I tell them, and I say, look, I don't understand you may not want to spend the money, but they've saved $10,000, and they don't want to spend $40 to actually see their scores. And what happens is a lot of people end up running up in unnecessary inquiries on their credit, when really they could have slowed it down, checked out to see if they actually qualify for mortgage, and mostly mortgages that we're talking. But also, too, you can use this to your advantage with auto and credit cards. So, once again, look at the spread between the auto lending and this is the score that you normally see on Experian, or a lot of the times on your credit card companies. After you've gotten a card, you might see a FICO 8. So, once again, just notice the difference. So what am I saying? So basically, before you apply, you should know your auto score. If your scores were low, under 600s, or whatever the case may be, you're going to get a subprime auto loan for that car. But also, so in a car business, which is more a forgiving business, you're going to probably get a little better than subprime mortgage, especially if they use a 4, but they could use an 8. But just kind of understand that. Credit cards, the same thing. They could use a FICO 8. They could use an older version. I know one of my banks, I want to say Royal Credit Union, uses Score 4. And sometimes, if you look closely at maybe like a lender that you have now, you'll see it where it says, if they're showing you, they give you a free score every month, they'll generally say, Score version 4. People always say, Tony, how you know what version they're using? You know what? Because I look for it. It may tell you what version that they're using. And sometimes some banks don't. One thing I have found, a lot of quite a few credit unions may use an older version, okay, of what you're lending, whether it's a credit card, whether it's an auto, that sort of thing. So look at the difference. So let's say, for instance, credit card lending. Let's say you wanted to apply for a credit card. Score 4, Score 8. You kind of in the middle of, do I apply for certain cards? I wouldn't apply for any Chase cards here because those are kind of considered a tier 1 card. But could you get a Discover card? Absolutely, because of and you say, how do I know? All you have to do a lot of times with these cards, you just Google, what's the average credit score I can get a credit card, American Blue card. You probably can get American Blue card somewhere here. I would say more in the 670 than in the 632, in the 676 more than the 632. How do I know that? Because you can use Google, folks. Just Google. If you Google the average credit score of the American Express Platinum, it's probably come up to the 700 credit score. Then you know not to apply for that. That's how you alleviate unnecessary inquiries, because you can use this to your advantage. And then also you can use to your advantage by knowing which credit bureau that they use. How do you know that? Some of the banks you can Google. Capital One is pretty tough to do because they use all three, 33 and the third. So it's almost impossible to know which one they're going to use. But I know if I were to go to a Alliant Credit Union, they only use Transunion. So if I use Transunion and I know I have a good score, then I can go to Transunion. Even though my Equifax or Experian score maybe not so great. But because they use Transunion, I still could very well get approved just using Transunion only. Okay, moving on. So newly released version, FICO Score 9, FICO Auto Score 9. Actually, those are pretty close. You don't see that also. Those are pretty close. All of those bank card scores. Those are, and I think once again, one thing about all these different versions, they all use a different algorithm. And look, if you get a MyFICO, you can really research it. They have a lot of good educational information on there. I'm not going to get into that now. It'll take me 10 days to go through, what you can actually use on MyFICO. Today, I'm just talking about, FICO Score versions that you can take a look at and make sure you understand before you apply for credit, so you won't get unnecessary inquiries on your credit. Okay, let's go to, and then also too, one thing that MyFICO does on their site, they tell you that some of these scores could vary within 100 points. I had a guy, the other day, he had a 605, but he had a 712 mortgage score, which is incredible. And you say, how does that happen? It's all because of algorithm. Some of the things that they take in effect. Remember, the score version is different than the FICO 8, right? So let's go to Equifax. Once again, and you see the difference in the algorithms between the two scores too. This is TransUnion. This person's at a 629. Here they're at a 660 FICO 8, most widely used version. It's kind of a generic FICO 8, not an auto, not a credit card, any of that. But if you go back and look at his mortgage score, look at the difference. Once again, TransUnion uses a score 4, most widely used for mortgages. Equifax, most commonly used for mortgages, they use a score 5, right? Most commonly, older version, score 5. But 658 versus a 618. Big difference, right? 40 points. But here, his overall FICO 8 generic score is basically 31 points better than his TransUnion score. And I know it sounds confusing, but you know what? I always say keep it simple, stupid, right? It is what it is. As you see this on here, you can't figure out what they use for algorithms. You can kind of look at it. If you want to study that, you can certainly do that. Lending use for auto, look at the difference in variance of score. If somebody uses an older version, that's a big difference. And look, and most of you guys know the better your score, the less you're going to pay for your vehicle. You're going to get a better rate. Okay. So, but I think a lot of lenders, and they don't have what they're saying is commonly used in auto. Either one of these two they could use. And look, I mean, if they use a 5, you're going to pay a little more money. If they use an 8, I would say I wouldn't apply until these scores are a lot closer, or maybe they will never get real close. But I would wait for this to get over, 620 plus. Now, could you get a loan with the 5889? Absolutely, but you're going to probably get a subprime loan if they use a score of 5. Except for, well, I'll come back to that later. I'll do another video on that, what I was about to say. But any commonly used in credit card lending, 672, 648. Look, I mean, once again, these scores are, and when you think about it, so look at here where it says good. A lot of these you'll see where it says fair, and this one says good. Generally, when 670, right? So, could you get a Discover card with that? Absolutely. Could you maybe get a Discover with? And I've seen some people get Discovers with, and that, 640. But you're risking it because you might get an inquiry, and may not get approved. But also, it's based on your job, based on a lot of other factors. But with Discover, typically, if you Google Discover, average credit score, I want to say it's 660, 670. So I would wait till you got here. And maybe if this one was 700 and this was 660, 670, then I would apply. Newly versions. Once again, we're talking about 9, score 9. And yes, do some banks use 9? Yes, but very few that I've found out have instituted 9. And then also you guys may be aware of FICO Score 10, which I really don't know. And look, drop me a note if you know of any banks who are using FICO Score 10, because I haven't found them yet. So once again, moving on to Experian. Once again, FICO Score version. Now check this out. This score is higher than Equifax 618, but lower than TransUnion 658, right? I think that's what yes. I'm sorry, 629. 629. 660 regular score for Equifax, and then 637. So you see the difference in the algorithms. But also, too, we don't know what's on each report, so we can't say why. But even if they were all identical, all of those scores would vary because they use different algorithms. Now, let's look at, what I know you guys are more concerned about is the mortgage score. Experian uses mortgage score 2, right? Once again, see the person's is 600, older version, most widely used for mortgages. So let's just go through this really quick. And this is kind of a bulk of why I did this video a little bit, especially for you folks that's looking to get a mortgage. So your mortgage score 4, TransUnion is 658. Your mortgage score 5 from, let me scroll up here, from Equifax is 618. and your mortgage score um, 2 from Experian is 600. So what score are the mortgage going to use? Well, mortgage companies, you're going to use the middle score. So you have a 600 Experian, 618 Equifax, and 658 Transunion. They're going to throw out the high, they're going to throw out the low, and what's your middle score? The middle score is going to be a 618. And that can go from any one of the versions depending on which score is the middle. I mean, which score is the middle. So you could get a loan based on your mortgage score 2, 5, or 4, depending on which one of these end up being your middle score. Okay. Hopefully you folks understand that, because they all use a different version. Okay. So let's go back to finish up on Experian. Once again, auto score, and these are relatively close. But I would make sure I wouldn't apply for anything under 600, folks. Look, I understand. Sometimes we get in tough situations where we may have to finance something, and we can refinance later once our scores go up. Absolutely, I totally get that, especially if you need transportation. Now, one credit hack I did tell you guys, sometimes depending on the lender, and I know with Toyota and Lexus, is that sometimes you can get a tier 1 rate at a really low score by asking for a rate exception. Okay. And if you don't know what that is, Google it, check it out, or watch the video I talk about on the Lexus video. Getting a really good rate with the lease and hiding negative equity. You might want to check that video out. But also, let's go to credit cards. So once again, if you were to go apply for a lender that only uses Experian, your likelihood of getting a card is, with these scores, I wouldn't apply. I would wait till my credit is good. You can get credit cards that accept fair. That's why if you did the opt-in, if you saw the video on the opt-out, opt-in pre-screen, you can opt in, and then you'll get those card offers that have these pre-approval, pre-screen offers with these scores based on Experian. Okay. Then also, once again, score 9, kind of the same thing. And look, if you may want to apply, these scores really kind of across the board are higher. These score 9 are higher than these. So if you do have lenders who use a score 9 with a credit card, you may have you're going to probably get a little better rate, a little more credit, and more of a chance of getting approved. But I would on credit cards, look, I would hold off until most of your scores are at a 670, unless you're going to get a lower tier card, which is fine. You still get a secure card. You can still get some of the lower tier cards with less than a 670. But when you're stepping up to the tier 2, tier 1 cards, you want to have a 670 where FICO says you have good credit and over before you apply for those. And then once again, if you have any question, Google the card that you're applying for and come back if you get your MyFICO. And that's why I say don't apply for anything unless you see your MyFICO scores. Because if you come here and from Googling the card, if you Google Capital One, what's the average credit score for Capital One, and that you're under that, you come back to your MyFICO report and your scores, and you see that you're under that, don't apply. And that goes across the board. So look, I just wanted to drop you that. Hopefully, a different take on MyFICO and FICO Score versions. That's really the FICO Score versions that are out there and that you'll be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Realize FICO 8 generic score is the most widely used across the board. Sometimes you may, if you see it on an existing credit card, they just kind of give you an idea of your general score. It may not be your bank lending score, your auto score, or your mortgage score. Just know that there are different versions for different products that you're using. Auto, mortgage, credit card. Credit card, you typically see the same as loans, installment loans, that sort of thing. So, hey, look, hopefully you got something out of this video. If you like this content, please like it. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with your friends and family once again if you think it's something they can use. I'm Tony Hill from Making Sense of Credit, Making Sense of Making Money Online. Please stay 6 to 8 feet back, wear a mask, and be safe. Until next time. Peace, guys.